Hello, and welcome to the Be Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast, where we are reshaping life, leadership, and business from the inside out. And today I'm welcoming to the show, close by again from Sydney, George Bou-Rizk. Welcome to the show, George.
Thank you. Really great to be here. I am pretty excited. I haven't done a podcast before, even though I've spoken in many different sort of avenues. This is kind of a first for me, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I love that you're excited. I'm excited to talk to you too, George. And a big shout out to all the listeners, everyone like feeling all the excitement vibes. You know, you said to me you've done lots of speaker events, mentoring, all of that, and here you are doing your first podcast.
Yeah,
What a time. What a vibe.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How's your week going?
pretty good. I mean, busy as always. It's the end of financial year approaching. There's a lot going on. We're pushing a lot to do a lot. And it's not like much changes in the new financial year, but for some reason that end of financial year does feel a little bit more intense.
Yeah, there's always just trying to close everything off, right? Isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and especially for the international like listeners, we have in Australia our financial year is from 1st of July to the 30th of June versus overseas it's generally January to December. There's all different types, so it's always June's always an interesting time. Let's get into it, George, because you have quite the story, and I'm going to preface with that you've only ever worked in the one organizations, and that is exceptional in terms of where you started and how you've worked your way to where you are today. So massive kudos to you, because to stay in something that when there's legacy and then you're wanting to evolve things as well as potentially revolutionize things, staying the course is always, it's almost like it's a juxtaposition at times, isn't it? Like it's like a double-edged sword juxtaposition type thing. So
Yeah.
as co-CEO and software engineering manager of Genesys Design, you've spent much of your career exploring a challenge many organizations face, and I've certainly faced it myself over time. How do you modernize without losing what made you valuable in the first place? And so like when I mention that, it's like you have this legacy or you have a founder, they've got a vision, and then they have the reins over. And so it's like keeping elements of what actually is like the heart and soul of the business, but then being able to bring your own heart and soul into the business as well. And it's always a catch. It's delicate. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way. So you started at Genesys Design as an electronics engineering intern, and you rose to co-CEO. Big congratulations. And George, you've experienced the company's evolution quite literally from the inside out. Along the way, an important inflection point emerged, and that was growth was no longer the challenge. Preserving the quality, the rigor, and the engineering excellence while continuing to innovate was. Because it's really challenging. And then you have clients that are like, oh, well, hang on, we used to do it this way. And you're trying to influence a new way. And then you're nodding at me. And we spoke about this
Yeah.
when we caught up the other week. Today, you lead one of Australia's most respected electronic product development companies while helping shape the next generation of engineers through mentoring, education, and industry partnerships. Your journey reflects a shapeshift from building products to building the culture and systems that allow innovation to endure. And at the heart of your work sits a simple question, and that is, what becomes possible when growth strengthens your foundation rather than pulling you away from them? Tell us about your journey. 11 years,
Yeah.
intern, co-CEO now. Like, I want to hear it warts and all, because I know it's not always, from the outside, it might look very different to what happens on the inside. I know it does.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's been a big journey for me. I mean, yeah, I started as an intern. I actually started my internship while I was still at uni, like fourth year uni, trying to like finish thesis and trying to do all this sort of stuff. Really, really a kind of intense internship actually, because I was balancing both of those things. Um, but I mean, I started off in electronics, and Genesis has been around for 35 years, so there was already like a strong foundation in the company. Really built on quality and expertise, and really being that kind of like foundational. If you want electronics done right, you come to Genesis. No, I mean, just I was so excited when I got the internship. It's like, oh, that's fantastic.
You made it.
Yeah, I get to actually like work in what I'm doing at uni. So it was really exciting at that point. Yeah, then I guess my career did shift a little bit in terms of like I started as an electronics engineer. I did a lot of electronics engineering, but I kind of shifted more towards software. That's sort of where I found my comfort and sort of started to really delve into the software engineering role um and then that sort of grew and I became a little bit more senior. I think the thing that really I really focused on that I think probably made me stand out at the time was I was very process driven. I wanted to really improve processes within Genesis, even though I was like young and naive. I noticed when I was working, I'm like, oh, this could be done better. We could do this better. We could probably like find a way to make this thing that I'm really struggling with better in the future. And that's really where I kind of focused in on and basically learning, obviously experiencing the work, but also trying to see how can we improve. And that's kind of where I started to grow into a little bit more of that, not so much into the management role straight away, but growing into that sort of more senior engineer role of, oh, I actually care about improving processes, improving engineers' experience, try to kind of better the tools that we use, the processes that we do. And then, yeah, along the way, that sort of shifted again, and I became operations manager, and I'm kind of running the operations with actually the existing co-CEO of mine. We actually became operations managers together. And so my co-CEO is Damien. He's actually the electronics kind of counterpart to me. But basically, yeah, we became operations managers together. We really focused internal at that point, trying to make things as good as we can internally. And that's kind of we were we were both engineers in the company, so we knew what things we wanted to fix. And basically, as managers, we implemented those fixes as much as we could and continue to do so. And then it kind of was like, okay, we're very internal. Things are great. Jeff Sizer is the founder of the company. Now, Jeff, he's a technical wizard. Like he really is amazing at being as an engineer. Um, and I mean, obviously, his later part of his career, we actually ended up approaching Jeff and saying, "Look, you know what? I think next phase of the journey for Genesis, um, me and Damon actually want to step up. We want to
Wow,
take
so
over as
you actually
co-CEO."
asked. You did like a
Yeah,
you did like a takeover in the nicest possible way in terms
yeah. I
of
mean,
I'm reading all about the Lindsay Fox one at the moment, and it's like fascinating around the dynamics of, relationships in a business.
that's right.
And I think there's ways you can do it properly and there's ways you can do it differently. And I'm not suggesting that I know anything about what's happening because you don't believe everything the media says, for example. What you're talking about here is, though, that you and your co-CEO, who was a co-operations manager at the time.
Yeah. We basically we saw opportunity for how we could better the business from a image perspective, from being out there and networking, stuff that, to be honest, Jeff was at that time not interested in anymore. He did do it a lot in the past when he was, more out and about in the community, and then he sort of stopped doing it. And then we wanted to do it more, and we wanted to kind of really get Genesis. We want us to be well known. Like, that's the end of the day, your reputation is everything. And we at some point we were like, you know what, we've got plans. We actually wrote our plans down. And we went to Jeff's house. We sat down with him. We kind of told him our plans, and we're like, okay, we think this is the best decision. And Jeff Jeff was all positive from the start. It was like, absolutely, let's go for it. So and look, Jeff is still in the picture, very much so. He's actually our technical advisor for the company at the moment, still involved in technical reviews. He just doesn't deal with the kind of day-to-day business management, sales, networking, being out there. He still has his contribution, but it's more from the technical side than anything else, which is what he wants as well. And that's kind of basically gave us the opportunity to say, look, where can we take Genesis next?
Yeah, how exciting. And what was that like, though, in terms of like, obviously going to the founder, CEO and going, hey, we want to take the reins now. And was there any trepidation in terms of, were you scared? Like, were you nervous around his response or his reaction? Were you surprised? Because I know that quite often founders, it's their baby.
Yeah.
I don't wanna relinquish control. I mean, I'm sure you've had your moments, and we'll get into that in a bit. What was that moment like, though? Were you guys going in going, "Oh, this may not fly, this might this" like, where were your heads at?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I mean, I've told you kind of like the nice story of all the things that I've kind of gone through in the company, but of course there was ups and downs as well. Like, there were difficult times in Genesis, and they're the times that actually hurt. I mean, as an engineer and as an individual, the more difficult times hurt you the most and impact you the most because you really feel them. And those things kind of stuck with me, and I was like, you know what, I don't want that to be the case again. Like, I want it to I only want kind of the positive direction. And so I kind of came into the meeting with Jeff with the attitude of we just want to move the company forward and have a really positive culture. And that's, I mean, I can talk so much about culture because I think that's really
Yeah, I agree.
the thing that I care about the most in the company, as much as quality is everything for us because that's what we do. Um, we want a really good culture in Genesis because happy, well-functioning engineers leads to quality, and it means people want to stay here and grow. So just like I did. So there was some hard times, went through those, didn't want them to happen again, had a plan, approached Jeff. Definitely there was nerves there. I mean, like I wasn't I wasn't 100% confident he would just be like, yeah. I was just like, I kind of approached it with, you know what, I'm putting myself out there, Damien as well, we're putting ourselves out there. Let's see what he says. And what's the worst that can happen? Right? So we approached him and he was very responsive and very positive about it. So um I think, yeah, it is his baby, but at the end of the day, um like every founder, you're going to have to relinquish control at some point. You
Yeah, who makes
can't
the
keep it
decision?
forever.
George, who makes the decisions now? Like, how you spoke to me briefly around the legacy, and I guess the question for me is culture's super important, being respectful super important. I'm sure you've got really strong values and how you put them into action, and then, having a founder who's relinquishing control, but also you want to make sure that you're keeping them on the journey.
Yeah.
How do you how do you innovate, or how have you innovated over the years and continue to innovate now and kept the culture thriving, if you like? Because what generally happens is when you're scaling or growing, culture just kind of can quite often, not always, can quite often fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Things are on this pursuit of, you talk about pursuit of excellence, pursuit of growth, pursuit of innovation, and yet culture is the heartbeat. It's the soul of the business. It's the most important part.
To me it is. I mean, like, especially being that person I've been on the receiving side of being the intern, the engineer. So I knew what I like if I was in the shoe, which I was in the shoes of those engineers that are joining us, what is optimal. And culture to me is like, yeah, you have a good culture. You're at work a lot. Like, you have to, work is a big portion of your life. You spend sometimes more time with your work colleagues than you do with your family, and which is just the reality. And I really, that's why culture was so important to me, and why we put so much energy into making sure that people really felt like, yeah, this is a good place to work. And we have our sanity checks as well for that, because we really encourage people to provide us with feedback if that's ever not the case, or if anyone has any feedback to give. Um, yeah, look, it's been a journey. We've been definitely, we tried to kind of, but the first thing we kind of did was like just try to get, I guess, process is a big part of it in my eyes. I know that's sort of like not culture, but it kind of is, because process determines how people are going to interact with work that you're.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
You can't have a system without a culture, and you can't have a culture without a system. And so, like,
that's
I
right.
talk about systems, and the more if they're disconnected, the culture's disconnected. If they're interconnected, if the system's interconnected, the culture's interconnected also. Like, everyone, it works. It's quite
Yeah.
simple, really, and yet we quite often get so caught up in not focusing on the simplicity of it all.
So I guess some of the things. I mean, look. let's throw some snacks in the lunchroom. Sure. I mean, that's not a nice little cultural boost, but I mean, it's only such a small kind of somewhat negligible side of things. Um, the I guess from the systems perspective, it was basically, okay, first of all, let's make the systems and processes as good as we can. And let's make sure that the people in the company believe that they are as good as they can
Yeah.
be. Not just we're in the company, we're told what to do, this is what we do, and that's it. More encouraging of people to actually be like, if there's an issue with the process, you need to be vocal about it. Let us know, and we'll work on fixing it. And that's been the general consensus, and that's what we've been doing for the whole time because there's always process improvements. I can't even tell you how much of the process change things like AI has caused for us. I mean, try to get through a podcast without saying that, but it has caused a process a change, and it's required, us to go to the guys and say, hey, what's the best process for us to work with this? How can we actually make it work with us, not against us? And so, so that it's really just setting in those positions where people working at Genesys felt that they could actually contribute, and that's something that uh, I don't think was easy. I mean, like Jeff's had his very kind of detailed processes, but it was probably pretty like rigid in them. We've probably become a little bit more flexible and we've allowed people to contribute a bit more. I I guess I had the personality that I could go head to head with Jeff and have arguments with him, and
Yeah, it's
even
good
at a young
so
age,
come on, George, give us the kind of the raw and unfiltered piece, because what we're talking about here is like is the fact that you have an existing founder, you've got two co-CEOs coming in, you've all got to let go of stuff. Like you like George,
Jeff.
Jeff, I was about to
Yeah.
say, sorry. I don't know, for some reason Peter came up, but Jeff had to let go. He had to let go of control, also let go of these guys are going to evolve the business. You also had stuff to
Yeah.
let go of as well. And that is a continuous evolution as you go, right? Because then you're the co-CEOs and then you've got people rising up in the ranks, if you like, in terms of, and so then what are you guys letting go of as the leaders to allow, what control are you letting go of to allow others in the business to flourish also? It's quite an interesting
Mm.
cycle, right?
I definitely like, I mean, being involved in all those different positions in the one company, you really have that kind of like holistic view. It's interesting, right? When you're just an employee and you're just an engineer, you can probably have a lot of opinions and you're like, why do we do things this way? And why, like, I feel like we should do things this way and I'll be better. But if you don't actually have the knowledge of what it's like from the management side, what it's like from the business side, you actually can sometimes make the wrong kind of conclusions. And I think that's something that I definitely realized as, going through different positions. It's like, yeah, being an engineer, fine, do your engineering stuff, being an operations manager, really understanding the ins
Yeah.
and outs of how people work together, and then being a CEO, which is like, okay, I now actually have to think about how the business needs to run and how the business makes profit, and like that's another thing to really think about. So it it changes the way, and you reflect on your kind of past thoughts and say, okay, yeah, I can see how maybe I was probably wrong in that scenario. So definitely that has been quite eye-opening to me, just being in those different positions in the same company, because you can just see all sides of the shape. But in terms of things that I've had to let go, um, look, because I've been involved in all the steps, it's hard because I've liked everything that I've done. Like I've liked software development. I've liked being operations manager and doing resourcing and
Yeah.
doing process improvement. And then I've also liked the business side and being out there. But reality is, when you're in this CEO role, you need to relinquish that and say,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? I might not get to do software development anymore. I probably can do software architecture, probably still do systems architecture and be involved in the overall design, but probably I'm not going to sit there writing so much code anymore. every now and then I do get to jump back on just
Yeah.
briefly,
Yeah, it's getting up the tools, isn't it? Yeah, you probably
yeah,
had to let go more than what Jeff has in terms of, like, because you've been in the business for like, since an intern. What would you say is the biggest challenge slash opportunity right now for Genesis that you're facing as a co-CEO? And then
yeah.
as a business, like, obviously it's there's a lot of change happening at the moment. Do you feel like you're going through your next big iteration of change and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess one thing I haven't really spoken about is really what Genesis is as a company. I mean, we are a consulting company. You know, we design and develop products, and that's something that, you know, as a consulting company, there are challenges that you have to face. There are ups and downs in sort of in client work and non-client work, and that's a real kind of challenge to balance all of that. And realistically, the answer is not always to grow in bigger numbers because when you grow into larger numbers of employees, you're changing the numbers that you're playing with, and you're kind of dealing with bigger revenue numbers and bigger expense numbers, but you also have a bigger risk. So, and you have a, you know, bigger chance of having kind of quality issues or cultural issues. So the challenge has been growing to a size that we're comfortable with without losing our identity, without
Yeah,
losing our, you know,
so
the
important.
culture that we've worked so hard to build, without losing that. And without losing the thing that makes Genesis really who we are, which is, from an external facing perspective, is quality. You know, we we actually are medically certified company. So our quality system is certified against a standard called ISO 13485, which is effectively means we can design and develop medical devices for people. And that quality piece is just, it's basically what it's all about when it comes to medical devices, because you're talking about, you know, people's lives on the hand, you know, engineering products that can potentially be fatal to people if you get it wrong. So quality is just everything. And and so yeah, there's this kind of balance of growing to a big enough size that, you know, that it can be sustainable and be profitable, but also not losing quality, not losing culture. That's been the challenge that to be honest, we still battle with today, because we could grow more and hire 5 more people today, and or 10 more people across, across the year. But then we have different challenges to deal with, and it's like, do we want that? It's a
It goes
constant
back
sort
to
of,
systems though, George, doesn't it?
yeah,
It goes back to
it
systems
does.
and, at the end of the day, it's for me, it comes back to, like, yeah, what is your identity as a business? And as your business grows or as you evolve, like, it's constantly checking the identity as well in terms of what do you need to let go of? What do you need to subtract? What do you need to reimagine and recreate? And then what do you need to test and implement? And having those champions in your team. So, who are the Genesis culture champions, if you like,
Yeah.
and you pick them out and they play a role in terms of ensuring that the culture is sustainable, it continues to regenerate, because otherwise the CEO or the co-CEOs, you're wearing it all on your own shoulders. And so for me, it's like, how do you make the collective own the culture so that it doesn't inhibit you from continuing to grow? I think that's a
Yeah.
really it's a really tricky one, because we think that as leaders sometimes that we have to do it all, and actually no, we don't. It's let the others, and this comes back to, like, if there's Jeff and then there's you and your co-CEO, and it's almost like, well, what is the team, what are they seeing as at the evolution of the culture? Like, what does it look like so that they take a bit more ownership of it? And it feels like to me that's probably the opportunity, if you like, versus the
Yeah,
challenge.
well, we definitely lean into that. I mean, as an example, we have what we call our lead engineers, like a layer of what we call lead engineers. And as we made them lead engineers, we actually, this is when, you've chosen the right people. they were like, "But we really want to understand what that means. So let's actually define it and define what the role of a lead engineer is." And this is coming from the people that were like, "We want to make you a lead engineer." Okay, but what does that really mean for me? So, really, how can we define your role? And we worked with them to define their roles, and that's still evolving. But just as an example, I mean, like I said, I mean, I've been an operations manager as well, so I've been involved in resourcing, which is one of the really challenging parts of a consulting business is resourcing. And just recently, actually, we're like, you know what? I don't have to be involved in resourcing anymore. I'm going to let the lead engineers do it. Like they know what they're doing. They know the projects. They can do it. They can give us the output. Maybe we can have a quick review and
Yeah.
be like, yeah, that looks good. But rather than me being like, oh no, I have to be involved. So relinquishing control is it's a huge part of it.
Yeah,
And I think
totally.
it comes from trust, right? You have to trust the people that
So
you're working
so
with.
true. Yeah, you absolutely do.
Yeah.
George, tell us what's like being a co-CEO in terms of even control and letting go, because I've always been really curious and intrigued about the co-CEO role. And,
Yeah.
you talk about trust, talk about relationship, having your own shared clear goals as co-CEOs. I'm a big fan of shared clear goals. Co-CEO, your own little set of values. What's that like?
Look, that's actually an interesting one. Like when I first, I still remember I had few conversations with people. I said to them, "Oh, I'm becoming a co-CEO," and I just remember one specific person was like, "Oh, how does that work?" Like I was like, "Well, this is how we've kind of made it work, and this is how we've broken it." But first of all, Damien and I have been working in Genesis for a long time together as colleagues, and kind of doing the operations management role meant we understood the business really well. So we had a shared idea of what Genesis is and what it was like and what it's like and where it could be. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we're both pretty good open communicators. Like we're not sort of like sitting in hiding our opinions, and like we communicate frequently and we communicate openly. So we each know each other's brains really well. We can I don't have to think like, what's Damien going to think about this? I kind of already know because I know how he is. So, and he's probably the same with me. And it's because we've got that open conversation, I mean, obviously sometimes we have differing opinions. We sit there and we actually think why we have differing opinions and what are we both trying to achieve? Why are we even raising these ideas? And then we think pros, cons, and then we think, is it the right time to do these changes now? Is it maybe a really good idea, but let's wait for like 3 months before we do it because it's just not the right time. So they're the kind of conversations that we have to constantly have. And honestly, it's been several years now. I don't know how many years it's been, probably over 3 years now. We've been co-CEOs, and there's never been a situation that we haven't just been able to like talk out the curves and bumps
Yeah,
in our
yeah,
ideas
totally.
and
Yeah.
just make it and then move it forward. So it's open communication is the answer,
Yeah, I love
really.
it. I love it. Do you think that we need more? Like, do you think there's an opportunity for more co-CEOs as, in business? And the reason I ask this question is because it's twofold. Like, I had somebody else just on the pod before, and we were kind of the conversation was around, is it can it be lonely at the top, and also you're wearing all hats at times, and you're getting the pressure externally. You got your own internal pressure. Am I good enough? Can I do this? Do you feel like it is more beneficial to have like a co-CEO role, almost like a co-founder type role?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your
I
view?
I actually think personally, I think it's super important that you have someone in that similar position to you, and you're not just sort of lonely on your own. I mean, it's a bit unique being on the co-CEO rather than co-founder, but as co-CEOs, I mean, you get a little bit of shared pressure, right? Like pressure is big at the top, right? You kind of feel it from all directions, from your staff, from internal things, from external things, from whatever's going on in the business. You feel all the pressure, but at least you get to kind of communicate that pressure and to someone else. It's kind of like, when they say, you use half of your issues, you kind of alleviate half of your problem when you speak to someone about it. It's kind of like that. You're speaking to someone about the pressures and how we can And then
Yeah.
you can brainstorm, and
Yeah.
it's open. There's no kind of secret. There's no, oh, I'm talking to someone that's at a different level to me. They won't understand me. They won't understand what the issues are. Whereas with me and Damien, we understand exactly where issues are, where the positives are, so we can talk really openly about it. I think it's crucial. I think it protects both people because it means in some scenarios, I mean, look, there's, life throws challenges at you. You know, there's ups and downs. I lost my father recently as an example.
I'm
You know,
so
that's
sorry.
that's been that's been tough. But Damien covered me through that
Yeah.
period, right?
Yeah.
No questions asked, no
Yeah. So
kind
tough.
of,
Yeah.
yeah. So you know, those sorts of periods of life throwing challenges at you, if you have someone that you can trust
Yeah.
as
So
the
true.
counterpart, you feel comfortable, and then you come back into the swing of things, and then you know what? Sometimes you need to go on. Sometimes you need to, you want to go on leave, go for a few weeks, and enjoy
Yeah,
yourself.
I agree. Yeah, I
I've
love
got you
that.
covered.
Yeah,
So
you've got such a fresh, perspective, and it's true. You know, life does throw challenges on you when you least expect it, and so having the ability to have the support and have somebody in that leadership role to share it all with you. You wrote something. You said something that I wrote down just before around shared. What did you say? You said
I don't
shared
remember.
pressure. Shared pressure.
Yeah, shared
Yeah,
pressure.
it's a really good one, and we don't talk about that enough. Like, how do you share the pressure? And
Yeah,
especially as a leader, like, as a CEO, share that pressure. And because sometimes we get so like, I can't share it because I'm putting that, I can't share it with the team or whatever, but having that ability to have this shared pressure. George, I've got a couple of final questions for
yeah,
you. How do you switch off? Like, how do you give yourself the ability to switch off? And where I'm going with, it's probably a twofold question. You've been in the business for 11 years. How do you keep yourself fresh in terms of one place? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. It's incredible. There's probably times where you have moments where you probably get, like a bit fidgety. I
yeah,
don't know if you're like me in terms of I'm like, oh, come on, like I want, like need something else or just.
yeah.
So what do you do then to switch off and give you the chance to get your mojo back and to be able to come back in going, yes, off we go. Here we go. Genesis, Genesis
Yeah,
Design.
yeah, absolutely. Look, first of all, in terms of switching off from like a business to personal life perspective, I have a lovely wife and three kids. So I'm quite, and they're, relatively young kids, 8, 6, and 4.
Okay.
So, there's obviously challenges with that, and it's really a second job, isn't it? Having kids at home. So you kind of finish your first job, you go home, second job. But that's something, honestly, I don't know if it's just a me thing or if it's a sort of internal to me, but I'm actually pretty good at switching those levers and just being like, you know what, work's finished now. I got to focus on my family now and just focus on my family and
Yeah,
then
good.
have a good sleep and then wake up and then start the next day. That's when work's back
This is
on.
so
So
different to females.
yeah, I mean, it's yeah, I think it's a very individual thing. I can't speak for Damien. I think, he probably has different experiences to me, but in terms of switching off work, but I think I'm pretty good at it. And same thing, kind of the opposite way, like, with my situation with my dad. Being able to switch that off when I'm working is something that I can do as well. So that's something that I can do on a personal level, which I guess I'm grateful for that ability because it makes
Yeah,
those two roles easier.
absolutely.
But I guess from the Genesis perspective and sort of seeing the different sides of how do you kind of maintain that motivation and that spark of something new? Um, Honestly, the good thing about working in the company that I work in, the Genesis is not just a you do one thing and that's what you do every day. We have unique projects all the time, and that's what makes me excited to continue because
Yeah,
we'll get a new client come in that wants to do
novel.
something that's like, this is awesome. I can't wait to work on this project. That's great. Obviously, that's not from the business side of things and managing the business. It's a little bit, it's kind of the same problems that every business faces and the same sort of challenges that you still have to deal with. And sometimes, to be honest, you just you need to kind of switch off for a little bit, have a little bit of break from it. Having the co-CEO kind of helps with that because you can just be like, you know what, I just want to focus on this thing that I'm doing right now, or and then kind
Yeah.
of come back with some fresh ideas after. So there's ebbs and flows, you have to kind of just go with the flow a little bit,
Yeah.
and
Totally.
lean on the people that you have within the company,
Yeah.
like your co-CEO, which is
Incredible.
why I think it's so important.
Yeah, and incredible. And then what would be your final piece of advice or words of wisdom in terms of, and yeah, you've brought your dad up a bit, and I'm so sorry to hear that you have had that recent, death in the family.
Yeah,
What would you what advice would you give to a leader who has had some form of adversity? What advice would you give them in terms of the ability to focus on family and not feel the pressure of having to keep holding it all together, if that makes sense? What would be your
yeah.
advice?
Well, I think at the end of the day, I think when people look at, like, figures in higher up positions, or on the top of running a business, they might forget that at the end of the day, it's just a regular person behind there, like, yes, they've managed to kind of do
Yeah,
these incredible things, but you're still a person. You still have
human.
lots of ups and downs, human issues and flaws and all these sorts of things. And you need to accept that and just let yourself live with your flaws, let yourself kind of experience the normal experiences that everyone experiences,
Yeah,
including mourning and going through
yeah,
those sorts of aspects. And for you know, obviously it is a little bit easier when you've got a co-CEO to lean on
yeah,
that can kind of cover the sort of the business while you're going through that. But I let myself just be in the moment that I had to be in at home
amazing.
and with my family kind of completely, so that I
Yeah,
can kind of get
fully
through that,
present. Mm.
be present, feel what I have to feel, experience what I have to experience, so that I can come back to Genesis and not feel like I've lost something or missed out on something that I should have not missed out on. So that's, I think, really important.
That's
Just like
so
let you
beautiful. George,
be human.
yeah, be human. What an incredible pod. Like, good on you. Look at you. Like, you're like you're a guru at this. You need to be doing more podcasts, George. Like, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really, really enjoyed our conversation and just the raw and unfiltered and just sharing the realities of what is life, what is like to be a leader, you know, all of that. And letting go is a big thing that's come through for me, letting go and shared pressure. And how do you continue to evolve a culture? Y You can't have a successful business without it, a heartbeat and a soul. So, George, thank you so much. How do we find out more about Genesys Design, and how do we find out more about you?
So, obviously LinkedIn, Genesis Electronics Design, and if you can go to our website as well, so genesisdesign.com.au, have a click through our website. If you want to, if you want to see sort of the more things that are happening around Genesis, LinkedIn's probably the best
Yeah,
because you can sort of see some of
yeah,
the things that we're talking about, some of the things we're
yeah.
excited about, maybe some of the events that we're going to, or events that we've recently gone to. So yeah, have a look on LinkedIn. That's probably the most active place you'll see us. And if you want to reach out to us, if you do happen to have something that you want to work with us on, then just there's a contact us. You can probably quite easily reach out to us on through
Amazing.
that, and just let us know how we can help. Typically,
Yeah, awesome, George. Thank you so much. And thank you to listeners also. Have a wonderful rest of the day. And yeah, thank you.
thank you so much, B.
Thanks, George.
Bye.